All right, this lesson we finishing up the God. We ain't finishing up. We on the way up top to the God body. Last one we went in, it was Eros. Eros the Psyche. The one prior to that, it was the Black King. All right, before we take Eros up to the solar plexus, we gotta go back to the principle. We gotta go back to law 7, because like I said, I deal heavily in the gender principle. So you can't split. You can't have masculine without feminine. Can't have feminine without masculine. So as there was the Black King, on the feminine side aspect, there was the Red Queen. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not wearing all red, but in all respects, there's the Red Queen. So on the flip side, there's the Red Queen. Now there's an excerpt here from this book that I was reading previously called Underworld in regards to the Black King. If you don't mind, I'm gonna read the excerpt. If you don't mind, I'm gonna read the excerpt regarding the Black King, so we can get deep into why this is important, why this is not spookism, why this ties into the physiological process. But not only tying into the physiological process, because most of your books, that's textbooks, won't tell you to inherently elevate yourself to the greater good to find you, or operate between them two choices given to you, either synchronously with the Most High, so you operating autonomously and allowing him to operate in his sovereignty, or you're operating in your free will, and in your free will you're operating either as the Black King or the Infernal Queen. And here's the excerpt in regards to, it's two things in regards to the Black King. It says, the Black King appears to be connected with the element of dying or killing in the death process. And it says the Black King is connected with the process of dying, said it second time. And in some traditions, he may appear as the Reaper. Also, it says he is frequently associated with chains or binding. We've said that before, stated that before. Okay. Why is that important is, well, I'm going to get into it in the regards to with the question that's posed. Because I asked it out on AI. I can go through deep down into the rabbit hole here. I'm not about to get on my soapbox and go too far from the topic. But this episode is regarding the Red Queen and the principle of the female aspect. And so when you understand the female aspect, and I understand ladies are into it, ladies love it, I love it, I'm into it for you. What people tend to do is they discount these universal laws. When I find it, I'm gonna put it in a post. But in the Nag Hammadi, Jesus says something in allusion to the universal laws not being able to be broken, because they're in everything that's spoken, whether it's men and women in manifest, you see the duality of gender. But not even just men and women in manifest. In animals, you see the duality of gender. In plants, you see the duality of gender. You see vibration when we music. You can see the effects of vibration and frequency when whales and dolphins display their music underwater and how far it travels. Sonar echolocation, bats use that, blind bats use that for sound and audio. So the universal laws are ever prevalent, always, and they're always in effect. Can't be broken. But the perfect savior, I'm not gonna say the Most High, the perfect savior, because he comes back as the messenger. And that's also in a post that I posted of an African folktale. But he comes back as a messenger. He states, laws that are breakable aren't real laws. He said, but you'll understand the real laws that can't be breakable, that must be operated by. So you got mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. You can't break those. Cause and effect being you make a decision, you commit to the action of that decision. That action has a consequence, whether good or bad. That's cause and effect. You cannot break those universal laws. So why I'm saying that is, I'm gonna take it to this book that I'm reading. I'm halfway through, because I'm taking it slow, because I'm bringing information to you, and I'm still on the go. As you see the daytime coming up, we operating within the change of rhythm and polarity, different drops, so people can't keep when I'm coming up. I told you they monitoring me, man. Keep doing it. I appreciate y'all for doing it, but just, yo, don't touch me. All right, check this out though. Like I said previously, we are the tree. All right. If you look at Sphere 10, it says Lilith. Sphere 10 is Lilith on the inverse tree, or the reverse tree. Like I said, that nice. So that tree of distortion, like I showed in the previous video, where it's the exact same dimension going on in the heaven and the infernal, like the same layout, same floor, same levels, same layouts, same archways. It's just in distortion. So where you see angelic, here you see infernal or demonic in regards to our terms. So on a higher tree, the tree up, that tree in the Kabbalistic term is known as Malkuth, or the kingdom. The kingdom being the manifest foundation we step on, this plane of existence we walk on. So the inverse tree being Lilith, and Lilith being that principle that we can either come through the portal as, or like I'm going to show you the principle of the infernal queen. The principle of the infernal queen, you'll see it as Kali Ma, you'll see it as Lilith, as Sekhmet, as Lamash too. You'll see it as oftentimes fierce warrior women deities in red, and the whole purpose of it. And so we just gonna get straight in, because I showed you already a quick depiction before. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you the physiological function in regards to the Red Queen. And I already know sisters in this space. I know sisters in this space know holistically. Well, I'm not gonna say holistically. I'm gonna say, even if you're coming from a feminine aspect of knowing spiritually, but only that aspect, you're still knowing it only linear, because you're not applying what's physiologically to it. Because I know a lot of sisters say you don't have to put research or books behind it. That's improper. That's not balancing the law of gender. Now, I will say this though. I will say this. The simple fact that the feminine principle has a bigger understanding, the outline of intuition, where things that's happening and that can happen have not yet happened, but are going to happen, or can transpire, or possibly or will. That proves that time is timeless, and that life is based off of choices, and that person can see through the veil, however long, light years ahead, or whatever distance, to the choices possible that a person can make to get to that time, space, and dimension in the future. That is a gift of intuition that the feminine aspect, the Red Queen, that we bring. Listen here. So we say here, it says the female organs of generation. Look at the Red Queen. And of course, we going stepping back into Grey's Anatomy. And like I said before previously, I wanted to show you this. This is the snake. Look at it. It looked like a snake. The spine looks like a damn snake. Look. This is a snake. The Red Queen. No, we ain't gonna say this the Red Queen. We ain't gonna say that because it's blood and all that. But look, like I said, these are real organs. The solar plexus. My apologies for my ashy thumbs. We out here in the cold today. The pharyngeal branches, but you should see the thyroid. I'll show you the picture of the thyroid if it's not here. But then you got over here, where is it? The sacral ganglia. Sacrococcyx or sacral chakra, the sacral ganglia. You got your solar plexus. So let's go in on this Red Queen here. And so specifically, during menstruation, the organ is enlarged and more vascular. Its surface is rounder. The externum is rounded, its labia swollen, and the lining membrane of the body thickened. Sulfur molecular disintegration of the mucous membrane takes place, which leads to its complete removal. Only the basis of the glands embedded in the muscle being left. At the cessation of menstruation, by proliferation of the remaining structures, a fresh mucous membrane is formed. So, a whole new egg, after it's being dispelled, a whole new egg is being dispelled. And in that process of calcification is being hardened. And if she is not fertilized, or if the Black King does not place his seed, remember, go back to enmity. The Most High said, I will separate your seeds. Woo! I will separate your seeds. And it said, we're not even going to paraphrase. We're not paraphrasing, because this is huge. Because in the menstrual cycle, a lot of women record and report being plagued by migraines. Listen to this. And he says, and I will put enmity between me and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. So you put enmity between a man's seed, that's the black king, that's where the death comes. Wait a minute. And between her seed being that whole egg, you put enmity between man and woman in the egg. So each time if man does not enter, that egg is being shed. During that time it said, it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So she gonna nip at his feet, but it shall bruise thy head, like a migraine, it sounds like to me. But in that regards to that principle, when she releases a whole new egg, think about Kali, as she has all those babies, she has all those skulls as a necklace, she's holding on to all the babies. That's all of the menstrual cycle she went through without producing the seed, or that's enmity. So now we're gonna go back into the Black King's principle. Matter of fact, let's go into the Black King's principle using this AI, because this is the perfect time to introduce the question that I pose for that. And so when I say you gotta activate the shift from L mode to R mode, because most people are only reading things and placing things together in a linear way, but you're still forgetting that feminine principle that leaves them in the underworld. And this is what makes the women or the feminine aspect chaotic, or you placing them in the underworld. The fact that they are the unseen, they're not even used in the regards to the process of creativity, and the process to how we interact with life, how we operate as people, as beings, to even to the process of how we look, view, research things. The law of gender is an important one. And so we're going to add concept into how the Black King should be added with the Red Queen, and how they both bring in manifestation, how the Black King's being a bringer of death is actually his phallus symbolism. So when he brings the seed of life into the Red Queen, she really, instead of brings the egg into this material manifestation, her inverse symbolism of Malkuth, the kingdom. And so even though we live in, the Most High says it's only through 120 years. So that is the process of dying or killing or death. Let's go. So I say, Peace Co-Pilot, after reading the book Underworld compiled by the Sepulchres Society, I have a few questions. Regarding the Black King in reference to being connected to dying, killing, and the death process in general, understanding the law of correspondence, should it be perceived that the Black King represents the male principle of the penis, as bringing life brings death? Also, regarding the Red Queen, I read an excerpt from Grey's Anatomy regarding the menstrual cycle, alluding to the menstrual cycle excerpt, and the representation of Red Queens around the world as being the eaters of men and babies. Are Red Queens not the allusion to the menstrual feminine principle that the Black King has not produced death with? Now, before we get super deeper than that, I ain't gonna front on you. I know my mouth is dry. So this is one thing we gonna crack. Oh yeah, we on day 9. Starting day 9. This is a sparkling water. We on day 9 with only waters. I haven't had coffee in the past 3 days. I haven't had them. I had one energy drink, I'm not gonna lie. But I haven't had those. I haven't eaten. Hella energy, no force. So it is absolutely it is an absolute balance of polarity and rhythm in regards to correspondence, even with fasting. Like when you're eating, you got tons of force. You have less use of order. When you're fasting, you have more use of order, less use of force. That perfect balance is perfect. But Leo, we going in. So, okay. Says Raphael Peace. This is a rich layered question. You're reading Underworld exactly the way it's meant to be read. Symbolically, not literally. Let's walk through this with the hermetic lens you already operate from, especially the laws of correspondence, polarity, and rhythm. I break this into 2 parts. The Black King and the masculine death principle, and the Red Queen and the menstrual death principle. So we don't have to do too much. It's not regarding the Black King, but we're going to come, aside from that, we're going to come from, excuse me, I'm clean. The Red Queen, the feminine menstrual death principle. Your intuition is sharp here. Across cultures, the Red Queen archetype, the devourer and eater of men, the blood soul goddess, it's not about literal cannibalism. It's about the menstrual cycle, the shedding of the unfertilized potential, the return of unused life force to the void, the feminine power to end what the masculine did not complete. In biological terms, if the black king, the seed, does not bring death, fertilization, the Red Queen performs her death, menstruation. This is why so many cultures portray the Red Goddess as Lilith, Kali, Sekhmet, etc. and Coatlicue. They are not monsters. They are not monsters. They are the feminine death cycle embodied. Symbolically, the unfertilized seed is devoured by the womb. The masculine potential that did not transform is dissolved. The cycle resets through blood. This is the feminine counterpart to the black king's death force. And how they interlock: masculine death and the feminine death. Masculine death is penetrating and ending. Feminine death is shedding and dissolving. Before we go super deep into that was pretty much the illusion of the principles that we needed to. But back into the illusion of the Black King. Remember, the process of death, dying, killing, the Black King is known for attachment. Once that force, or that penetration, as they said, is entered into, and her force is not being dissolved, that begins attachment to this realm. That begins manifestation into this body. That's the beginning of the atom energies that we are now elevating up to the Christ or the Christo consciousness. And so in that regards to the Red or Infernal Queen, same respect and regard should be shown as to the Black King. It is as the regards to both principles are being needed universally to even exist to begin with. There is no, you can't have this without this, because you can't have this without this. And so, on another day, on another note, that's another huge topic out here, brothers and sisters. I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, not having an understanding of, you can't have peace without having the war archon. People want eternal peace, and people say the feminine aspect or the feminine logic of how things will be ran, it will be peaceful. You can't have peace without war. So if that was even to ever be a time, that time of peace that you think will be had, because that may be undermined. But that's for another lesson, another soapbox. That's neither here nor there. But you cannot have these dualities. You can't have one without the other. So you can't have light without the dark. And so that's why in many societies, the way many people study and research, they look at Samael, him in and of himself, as being not only a principle of the Most High, the one that's unseen, but not being exactly a duality split of the one unseen. But when the one unseen decided to make himself manifest and have the divine masculine, divine feminine, then it is also seen that there is a duality, upside down version of the masculine and divine masculine and feminine, divine masculine, or the infernal masculine being Samael, infernal feminine being Lilith, the Black King and the Red Queen. And you have to use those energies as we are here to get up to the flaming sphere that we're going to get into, that he said he set forth to protect the way of Eden. Peace.